What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? How y'all doing today? Johnny No Cash here, and you are listening to a brand new episode of Life with Johnny No Cash. And before I get started, this is a pretty sensitive topic that I want to talk about today. This actually happened to me, and I do want to talk in detail about it. But before I do, I just want to say I actually got a notification over the weekend saying that the podcast has actually been downloaded 10,000 times. That's insane. There's been like this weird surge of listeners. I don't know why or how. I haven't done any advertising. I've never done any advertising for the podcast, so I'm not sure what people are finding so interesting about it all of a sudden. But just want to say to everybody who has tuned in throughout the years, thank you so much. And I do want to do this. I keep on contradicting myself. It's just weird, being like doing this online presence shit. For me, it's just losing its charm quite a bit. So that's one of the main reasons why I've been kind of distancing myself from not just the podcast, but even like online activity whatsoever. I find that I'm just spending way too much fucking time on my phone. And anytime you post something, there is that curiosity factor of like seeing who liked it, and seeing if you got any new messages. And it's fucking weird. Like it's something that I'm just drifting very quickly apart from. So that being said, though, I do want to say thank you all so fucking very much for supporting the podcast, getting something out of it, whether it was entertainment purposes, maybe some life advice here and there. But it's been really insane getting that email that 10,000 downloads over the course of, I guess I've been kind of uploading for 2 years now or so. Maybe more. I think it's been 2 years. But just want to say thank you very, very much. Now, on to this topic. So, over the weekend, it's a long weekend here, and I wanted to take a vacation. I kind of wanted to get away. I really wanted to, get my mind off of work and just have a break. We need it. We all fucking need it, man. And, for most of us who's working 40 hours a week, we really do need that time away so we can come back refreshed, rejuvenated, and put that much more effort into the job, because then you start valuing it a little bit more. But if you're just being slave driven and you're working your balls off every single fucking day, and then you only have that one Saturday that's not bookended by thinking about work, it gets really hard on us all. And I'm sure y'all can relate to this. Because, fuck, man, we're all being worked to the bone. We're saving, because everything's so goddamn expensive. So you can't even really have fun anymore. So I wanted to take a vacation. Now, probably the band that has been impressing me the most in recent years is a band called Sabaton. They're a Swedish band, and they've been around for decades. But I just kind of stumbled across them within the last couple of years, and I've just really been enjoying their themes, the sound of their music. It's really simple stuff. It's not like this tech-driven metal or punk or whatever. It's actually really digestible music. Really good fucking songwriting, incredible vocals, incredible themes, and I just started falling in love with this band. So I found out that they're touring with Judas Priest. And not in Vancouver, but they were playing in Everett, Washington. So I was like, fuck it. This is my weekend. This is my vacation weekend. I'm taking a few days off, putting a few $100 down so I can get a hotel, and actually enjoy myself and not really have to penny pinch too much, so I can actually kind of forget about work and drift off into a fucking sea of metal. So I got the tickets. I got my hotels booked. And I drive down there. This was on the Wednesday. And I'm stoked. I'm fucking stoked. I don't get away that often, so it was really nice to kind of, again, just leave everything behind. I fucking deleted my WhatsApp so nobody could get in touch with me as far as work was concerned. And it was just really kind of refreshing knowing that I'd have some time to fucking relax, or so I fucking thought. And that's what brings us to today's episode. So Wednesday comes around and the show is Wednesday. Oh, and before I this is probably blasphemy to a lot of people, but I'm actually not a big fan of Judas Priest. I just never got into him. So fucking sue me. You know, I was going for Sabaton. So I get down there, I check into my hotel, and I go to the show. And before I even get into the real thing, what the fuck is with this, like, cashless society that we're slowly drifting into? I took out a fucking wad of cash so I wouldn't have to worry about transaction fees, currency exchange. And I go to this hockey rink, not a single vendor would take cash. It's a federal fucking currency. Like, does it not have any value anymore? What the fuck? So yeah, my chicken fingers ended up costing like 25 fucking bucks with the transaction fee, the currency. Ah, Christ, man, I was really pissed off. So I had a beer, one fucking beer, and these chicken fingers. And they were good. I will say, you know, for, you know, a stadium chicken fingers, they were pretty good. So I sit down, I'm watching the show, and I don't know, man, something was off. Something was off, whether it was my mood, or I wasn't completely detached yet. So I watched the show, and man, I gotta say, like, Sabaton puts on an absolutely stellar performance. They had a massive tank that came out, and the fucking drummer was on it, basically like his drum riser. The guitarists were incredible, and the singer even dressed up as like a fucking, like, war veterans at some point, and it was just an absolute show. And honestly, when it comes to metal these days, like, you gotta put on a show, because it's getting so repetitive. You've heard these fucking riffs so many fucking times. You've seen them all stand the way they do with their fucking headbang swirls and shit. You gotta put on a show. And this is a lesson to all the upcoming bands too. Like, fucking do something unique. You know, have the audience actually experience something different. And I gotta say, they did. They put on a fantastic show. And I actually fucked right off after Sabaton. Didn't even stay for a song of Judas Priest. And I know, again, fucking blasphemy to most of you people. It's just not my fucking jam. I just don't like the sound. I'm not a big fan of Rob Halford's voice. So, again, sue me. So I go to a pub. I'm really looking forward to, like, meeting some of the locals and, you know, trying some of their beers and just seeing what this small little city is all about. So I go to this pub, and there's a fella there, and we just start shooting the shit, and he's like, hey, man, do you want to play some pool? I said, yeah. So we go across the street to, it's actually kind of like a rock bar, which was really kind of convenient that I didn't have to, like, take a fucking taxi somewhere or an Uber. It was right around the corner from the stadium. So we go over, we throw some cash into the pool table, and it starts piling up because, you know, a lot of the like, once the show was over, a lot of fans were coming in, having those post-concert beers, and there was this guy that showed up. He was probably like 6'5", I'd say maybe 60 years old, older fella, a metalhead, and he starts talking to me. Now, at this point, I've had one shot of tequila, the beer that I had next door, and I had a gin and tonic. I don't know, man. I don't know if it's because it's my nature, but I just have a very, I'm very trustworthy. I'm trustworthy dude. I always think that people have other people in their best interests, and I don't know, man. Something happened. I just started feeling really strange. Like, my body was starting to shut down. And my brain and motor skills, my cognitive skills were starting to fucking drift away from what is normal. And for me, as y'all know, I'm a fucking drinker. I can drink. I know my tolerance. I also know my limit. I know how much approximately I can drink. Now, I will say this too. I was on a full fucking stomach. I just had some fucking chicken fingers. All right? So it's not like I was, you know, starving myself to get wasted. And something was off this guy just kept on fucking like circling around, and every like within my peripherals this guy was fucking watching me, and like from what I was observing, it seemed like he was just in my space. An hour or two goes by, and I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, like I start blacking in and out, and my thinking is becoming extremely dumbed down to a very basic thought process. I'm not thinking right. I'm not acting proper. And my drinking at this point, I'm not excessively drinking. If anything, I'm kind of holding back from the amount that I normally would drink on a fucking vacation concert night. And I'm just noticing that, like, every time I was going out for a cigarette, this guy was there, and you can't bring your drinks outside. So as a gin and tonic, it's in a highball glass. I left it by the pool table, and I'm not thinking anything of this. Like, I'm not thinking that anyone has any, ill intent or malicious kind of, motives for anything, for anybody, let alone myself. And this guy, I start breaking down. I start fucking thinking to myself, what's happening to me? What's going on with my thought process? Why is this guy so interested in, maintaining this conversation? I don't know who the fuck this guy is. I owe him nothing. I don't owe him a conversation. I don't owe him jack fucking shit. Yet this guy was constantly like in my fucking personal space. The next thing I know, the bartenders are putting the stools up on tables, and they tell me, they're like, "Yo, it's time to go home. It's midnight." Now, I don't know if this is something that's common in Everett, but I guess bars shut down at midnight. And I will say that this was a blessing in fucking disguise, because had of the bar stayed open any longer, knowing like who I am, I probably would have toughed it out. I probably would have tried to stay longer, tried to drink more, but the bar was basically giving me the boot. At this moment, I knew that this guy had ill intent. I don't know whether it was to rob me. I don't know whether it was to assault me. I don't know whether it was to take advantage of me. I don't know, because I'm not even thinking properly. And at this moment, I realized I gotta get the fuck out of here. I'm not feeling normal. This is like, any more time on my feet could be more time fucking face planted on the ground in the back of somebody's vehicle. I don't know. And as I said, I had a fucking stack of cash on me for my trip. And I don't know where it was going. But at this point, I said, I got to get the fuck out of here. And I'm just so goddamn lucky, man, that this pub was closing at the hour it did, because it actually made me make the decision at that very moment to take an Uber back to the hotel. Now, I'm not thinking about anything as in depth as I'm explaining it to you right now. At the time, I'm not thinking at all. I can barely fucking think, let alone, think rationally or intellectually. And I get back to the hotel, and my key card's not working. And one of the last things I remember was I went up to the front desk, and I do remember this. I remember trying to explain to the front desk lady that I couldn't open my door, but yet the words were just not coming out properly. Luckily, she knew, maybe from my body language or me holding the key card, that she knew that, my key card wasn't working. So she scanned a new one to give to me. But I do remember vaguely and in patches that I could barely fucking speak. And man, I woke up the next morning and I was bedridden. I woke up at 9 a.m. in the morning. And you got to think about this. I probably went immediately to bed. So it would have been like midnight, 12:30, maybe 1 o'clock. Let's stretch it to 1 o'clock. And if I wake up at 9 a.m., that's an 8-hour rest. And I'm still fucking exhausted, beat down. My whole body is just absolutely like beyond weak, and not like muscle bound weak, just no energy for like to walk, to do anything. And I was bedridden the entire day, sleeping on and off till about 6 p.m. that night. And I came to the conclusion, once I started being able to think properly, that this motherfucker, I wholeheartedly believe that he drugged me. And for whatever reason, I don't know, and I'll never know. But this motherfucker drugged me. And I'm a grown-ass man. Like, and you know, I'm 175 pounds. Like, I'm not a light person if I was to collapse or, you know. So, please, the purpose of today's episode, now I understand that I started off with thank you so much for 10,000 downloads, and it seemed like a celebratory episode, but this is something really fucking important. Because this happens... I'm just going to guess. I'm going to guess that this shit happens a lot more often than we're led on to believe. A lot of people just think, holy shit, I got really fucking drunk last night. Don't know what happened. And not realizing how easy it could be for someone, and especially if you're a trustworthy person. Like you're talking to strangers, you're trying to mingle, you're trying to, you know, meet new people, especially when you're away from home and you want to kind of embrace the country, the culture, the atmosphere, the city. You want to learn about these things. So you're talking to locals. You're wondering, like, and that's the thing that fucking pisses me off the absolute most is these assholes, because I don't know if it was the two of them. Again, I'll never know. I wasn't sure if maybe the first guy that asked me to play pool called this son of a bitch and said, hey, there's a guy from Canada. He's got a wad of cash. Come on down to the pub. He's drinking open fucking liquor. Let's see what we could do. I don't know, and I'll never know. But I'm just saying, like, as a PSA to everybody, this isn't just for women, and especially people who are just getting into the bar scene when you're 18 or 19 or 21, depending on where you live and where you start going out and drinking. Like, this is a PSA for everybody that, like, goddamn, man, there's some real shady fucking pricks out there that will take advantage of you. And at this, and if you don't catch them in the act, how can you prove it? You know? How can you fucking prove this shit? So again, luckily I'm safe. And luckily, you know, I called my buddy immediately after, because he's in Dublin right now. And I just told him, I was like, yo, like, be fucking careful, man. Like, be weary of, like, how much, like, you talk, how open you are about where you're from, how much money you have, like, all these types of things. And again, you're probably thinking, well, duh. Yeah, you shouldn't. Yeah, I get that. But I'm a fucking open book. I'm an open human being. I always think that people have good intentions. And this really fucked up my perspective on people in general. So, for the love of God, I don't even believe in God, but for the love of a greater being, be careful. You know, really watch yourself, watch your drinks, watch your friends. Always have, like, I don't know, like a taxi on a speed dial or something like that. Because, I mean, for me, again, my scenario is much different than, say, you know, a young 19-year-old girl who's going out with her friends to drink for maybe the first or second time, or that's new to the bar scene and just want to have a good time. And then there's other people with ulterior motives that want to take advantage of these men and women. So this could happen to anybody is basically what I'm saying. Now, unfortunately, my vacation sucked. Like, I was done. I was really annoyed, and I was really let down and disappointed that this had happened. And I basically came home. I didn't spend much more time in Everett. My whole experience was really tainted, left a fucking really nasty taste in my mouth. So I ended up coming home. So not to be a downer, but this is really important for everybody. And if you know somebody, like I know that I do know that the majority of my audience is a little older, But if you do know someone younger that might benefit from this episode particularly, please send it to them. Because this is a grown-ass fucking man who's very willing to, like, be able to take care of himself, protect himself, that was completely taken advantage of, and my body was fucking wrecked. Could just imagine a 100-pound girl that takes in the amount I took in, and how fast they could have been out cold, and how fast they could have been swept away. Who knows? So, anyway, it's not the greatest 10,000 download episode that I wanted to kind of lead off on, but it was really important, and this is really important to me, and I care about y'all. I care about everybody. You know, I'm not even though some of my music and some of my rants are super, negative, I genuinely do care for the well-being of other people. So be safe out there, and please, like, the next time you go to a pub or a bar or a club or whatever, just be careful and use your sixth sense, because luckily my sixth sense didn't work until it was very much too late, and I was blacking out. My legs were giving out, but luckily the bar closed. Like it was just like a fortunate series of events that the bar closed down when it did, and I got the fuck out of there. So that being said, I know you guys are fucking dumb, but at the same time, just be safe, be careful, love one another, and treat one another, and just keep your eyes peeled. So until next time, thank you all so much for being part of this ride, the Johnny No Cash Life with Johnny No Cash ride. You guys have been great. I appreciate the comments. I still do. And even though I'm not as active on here or on social media, I still do read them, and they do mean a lot to me. So thank you very much for coming along with me. And until the next episode, you guys stay dusty, and I'm out. All the best. Cheers.